Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of Making a Brewery. So, updates since we last spoke. Well, from a brewery perspective, I've changed things around in here a little bit just to make a little bit more space for myself, but I think I've actually done the opposite. So, on the last video, you may have noticed that the 4 fermenters, 1, 2, 3, 4 were further down that way. So I've decided to move them up to this front part of the room, and I've moved the Braumeister in next to them here, which kind of fits things quite nicely because I can kind of, the Braumeister's on wheels, so I can wheel it back and forth, push it back in. So on a brew day, potentially I can bring it back out here, do my brewing, gives me enough space for pipe work, etc., and then I can kind of push it back in at the end of a brew day. And then there's still space at the end of the room here for a hot liquor tank. So just kind of playing around with the space at the moment to see what I can fit where, and can I fit any extra tanks in here. On our last video, I think I had all of my homebrew equipment was kind of pushed in against the fermenters. So to create a little bit of space for myself, I've tried to kind of section out the room. Still keeping this for my home brewing stroke pilot brewing, which I'll be doing a lot of going forward. And also it just gives me a little bit more space. However, I did get a delivery today from Get Brews. So some malts have arrived, and also some, I guess, enhancers and chemicals I've ordered as well. So what have I been up to over the last couple of weeks since my last video? Well, I guess the main thing that I've been doing is I've signed up to what's called the Rockstar Brewer Academy. If you're interested in being a professional brewer and you want to learn more around recipe scaling, processes, etc., I'd highly recommend checking out the Rockstar Brewer Academy. There is a podcast that you can check out first of all called Quality Focused Pro Brewers, which gives you some really good insights into what's covered in the Rockstar Brewer Academy. But if you wanted to sign up to the actual academy, you can get in there as well, and you can get some coaching from Hendo, who runs that academy. So I've signed up to that a couple of weeks ago just to try improve my processes, improve my beer quality essentially, and to learn a little bit more about scaling my recipes up from a home brew scale, but also up to a much larger scale as well. So as part of that process in joining the Rockstar Brewer Academy, I have decided to essentially introduce a lager into my core range. So my initial thoughts for core range, as I've been pilot brewing over the last while, have been a stout, a red ale, a pale ale, and maybe that's my 3 core range. But after joining the Rockstar Brewer Academy, I've come to realize that a lager is going to be essential. Where I'm based, obviously rural area, we've spoken about this before, there is no other brewery in Cavan. So launching into the market with a craft beer, like a kind of a bold stout or a pale ale or IPA, it's probably just not going to work. I need to meet the market where it's at. So decided to brew and pilot brew at the moment, obviously, on my grandfather system, a lager. So delivery today, 25 kilograms of Munton's crushed Pilsner malt, and then a few other kind of process aids that I've got in mind after advice from Hendo at the Rockstar Brewer Academy in terms of helping me produce a really, really good quality beer. So some things that I've got are things like Murphy & Son Super F. Essentially, it's a fining agent which will help clear my lager and improve the clarity of that lager. Something I'd never come across before, but really, really interesting, is something called Tetra Hop. So it can be used as something that adds foam to your beer, but also adds a little bit of bitterness in there as well as a dry hop. So something I'd never heard of before, but definitely something I'm going to try with this lager to increase foam retention. Things like dehaze as well from Murphy and Son. That's something that will help the beer essentially clear and reduce haze in it, because obviously you don't want that in a lager. Zinc sulfite as well, and something called ADLC. Can't remember what ADLC does, but I'll look it up. But look, I bought all of these things because they were recommended to improve fermentability. I think actually that's what ALDC does. It improves fermentability and increases efficiency, essentially. I'm pretty sure that's what that one does. So yeah, just some process aids I've got in today from Get Our Brewed. We'll probably brew that lager in the next couple of weeks or so and start to kind of refine my process around that. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to over the last few weeks, trying to look at improving processes. A big part of the Rockstar Brewer Academy as well is trying to have consistent beer. So one big part of that is making sure that everything is laid out for you on the wall of wisdom, essentially, as it's called. All your calibration of all your equipment, like so your pH meter, your density meter, like I'm using the Anton Par Easy Den, so making sure that I'm calibrating that quite regularly, calibrating my pH meter, knowing what my tolerances are as well. So if something is out of tolerance, for example, if I shoot above my original gravity, how do I know that I've overshot it? It's because I have it on the wall here and I know what my ranges should be for every one of my beers. And if I'm outside of those ranges, then I need to take some sort of corrective action. So yeah, big focus on improving efficiency, quality, and yeah, overall beer quality. That's what I've focused on over the last few weeks. In terms of the planning application for turning this place into a commercial premises, so I've met with the architect. Actually had a really interesting conversation with the architect who called by here to look at the place before he did some drawings. He is actually, what's the word? Maybe a treasurer or something in terms of the community organisation in the local area in Belturbet. And historically, maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago, I don't know, Belturbet had a railway station. There's no railway in Cavan anymore, and there's no railway in Belturbet, but the railway station still exists, and the community organisation owns the buildings there, or are looking after or caretakers of those buildings. So he had mentioned to me that there is some space down there, and something that they thought would be beneficial in the future to bring some tourism into the area is potentially put a brewery in those type of buildings that are down there. So the building is quite big. I haven't actually viewed it yet, but I'm told it's quite big. They do have a railway museum down there as well, but it's something that I can consider potentially looking towards as an expansion opportunity at some stage in the future. So it was interesting to have that conversation with him, to know that space is there at the moment, and it's a potential for something that, if things take off, that I could look towards moving down there in the future. It's probably too big for me at the moment, but might be without having seen the place, it's probably a good space for a brewery, tap room, restaurant type place. So more on that in the future. Maybe I'll take a walk down there on a future video, and we'll have a look around the area down there, and I'll show you what it looks like. So yeah, we have... Yeah, the guy called up. He did a good scope of the area. Some concerns about the septic tank that I have here, which I kind of knew maybe the case. I think I may need to upgrade that septic tank if I'm going to get permission for a brewery here. But he's taken away. He's doing the drawings at the moment, and hopefully we'll submit the application quite soon. And we're on that kind of track then for getting planning approval for a commercial premises here. The other thing is that I rang the environmental health officer last week or so, or 2 weeks ago, and they gave me a call back last week just to chat through some of the things that I may need to do, which was my intention when I rang them, was to understand, like, what am I going to need to do to this premises before I get approval. I don't want to go and do a ton of work on the place and then get told that I need to rip all that back out and start again. And I don't want to do work that's not really required of me either. So I spoke to a really nice lady down at Environmental Health in Cavan County Council, and essentially what she says was there isn't really a blueprint for breweries from an environmental health perspective. What she did say is the basic stuff. Obviously, we need to ensure that we have pest control sorted. We need to have walls and surfaces that can be cleaned. So like I said in the previous video, I'll probably need to put some PVC on the walls. So yeah, making sure that the place is sanitary and it's clean. And was her main advice? She couldn't really give me much more than that. Just kind of the basic stuff of any kind of food production environment, as she termed it, would need to be clean and sanitary. And I need to have a sink, which I already do. Although I think somebody had said to me before, you may need a second sink for washing your hands. I don't know why one sink is not good enough. But anyway, had a good conversation with them. Some initial guidance, but not very detailed. So I guess when I do eventually start doing some work on this place, I have a rough idea of what I need to do. But I'm sure I'll just need to get them to come out eventually and say, this is what is wrong with the place. So not a huge amount of progress on environmental health, but some good early guidance on that. That being said, I'm still in a real kind of holding off phase at the moment, because I'm very, very reluctant to start ripping up floors and putting stuff on the walls and doing all of that type of stuff until I get planning permission, essentially, because it could be all a waste of time. I may not get planning permission for this place. And also, as much as I really, really want to go and start buying new equipment and buying all the things that I'm going to need, it would be quite foolish of me to do that, because if I go and buy new tanks now, like a bright tank or a unit tank or whatever else I'm going to buy, like hot liquor tank or bottling machine or bottling setup, any of that stuff, when I'm eventually going to have to rip up the floors in this place and cut drains in here, I'm going to have to take everything out and put it somewhere. And I don't really have the space for that at the moment. So yeah, at the moment, I'm just going to, I know everything that I need for this brewery, but I'm just in that holding phase of wait till I get the permission or wait till I get the go ahead from somebody and then start to move ahead with some works on the place. On the last video or the video before, I can't remember, we spoke a lot about getting power into this place. That's still a big dilemma for me at the moment. I was looking at getting a generator. Realized that the generator I had purchased, but luckily got cancelled that order really quickly, wasn't of the right power. Then a friend of mine did actually source a generator for me that has enough power, 11 kilovolts, kilowatts, whatever it's called. I don't know. Enough power essentially to power the Barrel Moister. These generators new would cost in the region of like 12 or 13,000 euros. But this is a second-hand one, and it was coming in at around about 2,750. Now it's been worked, like it's been on building sites, construction sites before, but it was an option. Although it did weigh 350 kilograms, and that was going to cause a problem in terms of the guy who was selling it said he could get it to me here, but he had nothing to lift it off his trailer once we got here. So I'll probably, if I go down that route for that generator, I'll probably need to get a crane essentially to lift it off his trailer and then lift it over the garage and plonk it down at the back near where my oil tank is, because I don't want to put it beside the house with the noise of a generator. I'd like to keep it as far away from the house as possible. So that's still an option. However, I rang an electrician or electrical contractor today to ask him about getting a quote for getting full 3-phase power in off the Electricity Supply Board, the ESB here in Ireland. And he basically said that, you know, it could end up costing, like he gave me this outrageous figure of 90,000. They knew a guy who was opening a small business not far from here, probably around 5 miles from here. And when he got the ESB out to give him a quote, they told him essentially that there was not really much point in giving him a quote because it would be around 90k. He was so far away from 3-phase power. They would have to put up poles and wires and all of those things. So it was just pointless. So that guy had essentially installed what the electrician told me was an inverter, but he gave me the guy's number. I called him today. I think it's a converter essentially that converts single phase power to 3-phase power. So I didn't know this even existed, but apparently it does. The guy from this small business, really nice guy, I had a good chat with him today. He told me his setup, I think it's a furniture business he has, but he needed 3-phase power and he's in a garage beside his house. So he gave me the number of this another electrical contractor who specializes in converting single phase power to 3-phase power, depending on a few factors. So that guy's going to call out to me hopefully next week or so to assess this premises and see would it be a good candidate for converting my single phase power into 3-phase power just in this garage, and see what that might look like. So that's another option. So I guess it sounds to me like getting the 3-phase directly in from the Electricity Supply Board, ESB, is a non-starter. I will still look at it and I'll see, like, can I get a quote? But because we're so rural, I just feel like it's gonna, if they have to bring in poles and wires and all of that stuff, it's just not gonna be a non-starter. So it's either the generator, which is a big, powerful generator, or this converter. I think I would prefer the converter because essentially it means I don't have to buy diesel for the generator. There's no noise, and it would all just come off my regular supply. So hopefully that's something I can pursue, but I'll keep you updated on that. So yeah, I'm in the brewery this evening, and you can probably see over my shoulder here this hunk of metal which is tipped on its side. So essentially that's my canning machine. The purpose of me being in here this evening was I had intended on bottling some of my beers and canning some of my beers for the National Homebrew Championships, which are coming up at the end of the month. And I still have one beer, which is a absolutely beautiful stout, in my opinion. It's going to be the stout probably I may use for the brewery, but I'm hoping to enter that one into the Homebrew Championships just to get some feedback on it and see what other people think of it. So I had started canning this evening. So this is my kind of canning setup over here. I think maybe I've showed this before. This is the duo filler. So I can the beer with the duo filler, which automatically fills to the right level. And then I move on to the canning seamer, which seals up my can. However, today it just went kaput. Not quite sure why this happened, but let me show you this. Hopefully I can show this on the screen. But this is like I think you call it a rotary, I don't know, I'm not technical, but essentially this part of the steel here has become all worn. And this is what, when put in here somewhere, spins everything around and spins the can and leads to it being sealed. But because this is all worn down, the can is not spinning on the seamer and it's not sealing, essentially. So I think I can fix it. I hope I can, but look, literally, I have no clue what I'm doing. Nobody tells you when you start to brew that you also need to be a plumber, an electrician, mechanical engineer, all of those things. I've absolutely no fucking clue what I'm doing, but I still think I can fix it. So I'm going to give it a go because I don't want to have to buy another one of these for, I think it cost something like 800 quid. I don't know what it cost a few years ago. So that's kind of ruined my evening of canning. I could probably still bottle a few, but to be quite honest, I'm just not in the mood now. I'll come back to it tomorrow evening and get a couple of bottles done and get them submitted this week for the National Homebrew Championships. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I don't think there's anything else to update on. Still not finished the business case, even though we had planned to have that finished by the end of February. It's now like the 10th, 11th of March. Let me just check here. It is the 11th of March. So we're still not finished the business case, although we're very, very close to it. We want to get that right before we start submitting for grants and stuff like that. So the leader grant initially does call for a business case to be included with it. So I'd rather have it finished and submit that as a strong business case. and then start approaching the local enterprise office as well. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Look, I had hoped this video would be short and sweet, but it's I can see it's probably been 20 minutes of me waffling along. But yeah, my next few weeks, I guess, are going to be focused on continuing on with the Rockstar Brewer Academy, learning more there on how to brew quality, consistent beer, and a lot of pilot brewing as well, just to refine my process and make sure that I get the right beers out to market once we eventually do get the planning permission and the licenses and all of those things. So yeah, I will look. I'll talk more maybe on a future video about some of the pilot brews that I'm going to do. But at the moment, that's kind of it in terms of updates. So again, look, thanks to everybody for watching these videos. Hopefully you're finding them informative and interesting and entertaining in some way, probably. But yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. And add some comments into the video as well. I'd love to get your feedback on if you like these videos, if you don't like them, if you'd like me to touch on something else in these videos or cover a certain topic. I'd love for the feedback in the comments. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Cheers.